onye du iPod omeri onendizu oniya abakare mama daura una pori meri nami win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri nami win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri nami bu onye du iPod omeri onendizu oniya abakare mama daura una pori meri Nnamdi win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri Nnamdi win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri Nnamdi win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri Nnamdi win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri Nnamdi win the war Python dance 1 Python dance 2 na Python dance 3 una pori meri Nnamdi.
So, who remember this particular song? Even though that this song always makes me emotional, is as well gives me hope that at the end of the day, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is definitely going to regain his freedom. So, my people, after the last appearance of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the court, there have been a lot of reactions from a lot of people. And if you notice very well, you know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu gained a lot of sympathy after that last court hearing. And also there's something I noticed that since then Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been talking from DSS custody through his lawyers. So sometimes we quick to forget where all these things started. So in this particular video, it's going to refresh our memories, what started all this, especially the insecurity, kidnapping, and all this killing in the Southeast, because this started immediately they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya, as well as when Buhari said that he is going to deploy army police in the Southeast, that they're going to teach the iPod the language they're going to understand. And this is when Asari Dokubo and his boys take over Southeast. That is what causes all this insecurity, kidnapping, and all that. If you really want to get updates about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu case and all that, just make sure that you subscribe, and turn off the post notification bell so that anytime I upload a new video, you'll be the first person to be notified. So my people, let's go ahead and watch this particular video. I'm going to be right back.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about we're going to be unpacking just like the topic said, unpacking all that have been going on with our brother and leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And what are we going to be unpacking? We're going to be taking you down the memory lane from where all this started. Because of our time space, we may not go all the way to 2015, but we go some way to when the water started entering the horn. As the Igbos say, there's an Igbo adage I like so much. You say, why when the kite picks the chick and the chick is shouting chinchi chinchi, it's not shouting chinchi because he's hoping that the world is going to save her, but he's shouting so that the world can see how he is leaving the earth. So some of what we're going to be doing today is trying to cry out so that people can see where injustice is being done, if you think it's injustice being done, or where we are not following the laws that we've set down in our constitution. But let me not go ahead of myself. Let us look at some of our outlines for today and be able to make out something tangible from some of the things that people are going to say. And here is one of the renowned lawyers in Nigeria who have been on this case for a while. This is his passionate appeal before things started going, towards south.
All over the world, boundaries are breaking down. Let us bear in mind that all over the world, boundaries are breaking down. We now humbly appeal to the government of the day to immediately, without any further delay, with the urgency of yesterday, release Nnamdi Kanu, that he may come out of his illegal and unconstitutional detention, which the courts up to the Court of Appeal have since pronounced upon, but is still illegally being held there today, so that he will come out and join hands with the rest of us in rebuilding this nation that is frantically yearning for nationhood.
Listen to what the government wants before they can release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. When Nnamdi Kanu renounces his agitation and apologizes to the nation, then a process of de-radicalization can begin. The government may now decide if it intends for an alternative dispute resolution to be employed in his situation. It's not about his uncles, sisters, friends apologizing on his behalf and pleading for his freedom. He must first be born again before any other thing can follow. Presidential spokesperson Dr. Daniel Bwala reacts to calls for Nnamdi Kanu's release during his interview on News Central. They want Nnamdi Kanu to renounce Biafra before he can be released. And to me, this is a pure impossibility. They are purely mad and wasting their time. By the time they and their families begin to die one after the other, they will be forced to set Mazi Nnamdi Kanu free and let Biafra go. Pharaoh of Egypt tried it, and you know how it ended. Stay tuned.
That if they convict me, this is what happens. You can see. This is what happens. You can see. They don't want the truth to come out. Nobody wants the truth to come out.
It should be a source of shame for every Nigerian lawyer who wears a wig and gown and enters a courtroom. We all know that justice delayed is justice denied. What we may not understand is that silence in the face of blatant injustice is like a ticking time bomb with an invisible countdown. Tinubu is merely continuing from where Buhari left off, valuing Nigeria's fragile ego over the lives of the people of the Southeast. If that weren't the case, this matter would have been handled and resolved long ago.
It is a breach of judicial oath. They have violated the judicial oath. They have shown bias according to Supreme Court. They are biased against me.
But I'm not surprised. Nigeria has never cared about the lives of people in the Northeast, Northwest, or North Central. It doesn't care about its citizens. At some point, the recipients of injustice will rise to confront it. People who seem to accept injustice are like those who have swallowed a bomb. Just because it is not visible doesn't mean it is not dangerous. And those in danger aren't just the ones with bombs in their stomachs. There are also the ones watching them suffer. Say what you will about Nnamdi Kanu and his outbursts in court. No one can say he has become an empty shell or a shadow of his former self. That would have been pathetic. This isn't an appeal to Nigeria's conscience. I've never seen that in my lifetime. This is a reminder that moral judgment of the guilty is not the solution to the age-old question: how do we bring about change in Nigeria? If you're comfortable with the status quo, if you enjoy the image Nigeria projects to the world, and the headlines that Nigerian newspapers flood the internet with, you are as irredeemable as the country itself. If you don't feel a sense of urgency in a city overrun by rabid dogs, or in a mattress infested with bedbugs, or in a church vestry choked with Satan and his disciples, then you are as irredeemable as your country. Do you ask, what can I do? This is what you can do. Denounce all injustice, no matter who the victim is. Tear up whatever passport grants you privilege in the face of injustice. If you too are a victim but lack the courage to stand and fight, don't mock those who are fighting because you cannot. That we are all victims is not an excuse to embrace cowardice. If you have been unaware of the injustices in the air you breathe, the water you drink, the storm brewing in your morning teacup, now you know. You have no excuse to remain indifferent or refuse solidarity. Indifference to others' suffering is like cancer. It spreads. If you ignore cancer on the skin because you think it doesn't affect you, the lung, by the time it reaches the blood, it will impact you. There is no way to be patient with injustice without giving it power. An emboldened injustice stops being a nuisance and becomes something far worse. It becomes Ebola.
And that is why what is happening in the judgments and rulings concerning me has been happening. Disobedience to superior court orders. Supreme Court said you are biased. You are against this man. You should not have revoked his bail. Nigeria went to Kenya and kidnapped him.
Okay. If you have been following so far, we still have a lot we promise to bring to you. But who is Nnamdi Kanu? Nnamdi Kanu is the one, I want to describe him the way he has not been described before, but let's just, for the purpose of this broadcast, I also want to throw in here, Igbo, so I'll probably be coming from a biased point, but I will try as much as possible as to separate my views from what is going to go on today. But here is what I will say. Nnamdi Kanu is one of those few, or if not all, almost everybody who from the southeast has some form of feels this almost the same way that he feels. We may not all have the same style of going about it, and we may not even agree with his style, but the truth must be told. And Nnamdi Kanu has stood boldly to tell that truth. You may be asking yourself, why is it that other freedom fighters and agitators have done theirs and they've been freed by the system, but he has not been freed by the system? As time goes on in this discussion, I'm going to show you why he is not liked, or on the broader sense, if you allow me to use that broad brush to brush all of us over. The reason why certain people, individuals, don't seem to like people from the south is because of their ability to be bold and courageous, even in the face of danger. And so sometimes we come across as not people who are brash, who are a bit, uncultured. But that's not the truth. The truth is that you don't show weakness in front of your enemy. And so constantly, in the way you see Nnamdi Kanu, because many people have come up after the court case, which we are going to preview today, to say all kinds of things. Why should he speak to a judge that way? Why should he speak to the lawyer that way? Why was he an outburst? Well, you give us your opinion. We're not going to form your opinion for you, but we're simply saying, just like Dr. Damages concluded, if you keep quiet in the face of injustice, the next time it may be you. There's a famous saying that when they came for, the 4 sets of people, I can't put them together all now. I didn't do anything when they came for it. I didn't want, eventually when they came for me, there was nobody to speak for me. There's always going to be a time when what goes around comes around. And sometimes it may come at a time, and because you have been complacent all the while, we're not able to make a difference in that situation. Let's not find our hand to be tied and our mouth shut at this time that we're supposed to speak out in front of, perceived and seen injustice. It is injustice all the way. There's no other way to describe it. The controversy surrounding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian criminal justice system is a complex and multifaceted one that we know. You know that, I know that. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, have been detained since 2021. His first detention was, of course, 2015, when he was arrested and taken in, and then eventually released and granted bail. And he went to his house in Oparoku, in Umuahia, to stay in his father's compound. Now, you may ask, and certain people during the course of this research, I've seen certain writings, and some people said he jumped bail. I want to put the record straight, if not for anything, for purpose of record. He didn't jump bail. On that fateful day, the army was doing their python dance. By the way, the python didn't dance last year. We don't know why. But the python was dancing, and the python left the place where it was dancing and started dancing towards their compound. And at the time the python danced and got to the gate of his father's house, the next thing we heard was, the barrels of the guns, And at the end of that dance of the python, 28 young men had gone to be with their Heavenly Father. Not to say the least that even after that dance, his father and his mother, of course, today are no longer with us, because that process eventually led to many things that brought them, that took them out of this world. However, in that incident, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was lucky to have been able to escape only by the shielding. Other people use themselves to shield, take the bullet on his behalf. And so that's how that escape was made possible. Now, when he left the country, we didn't know where he was until 2 years or thereabouts, when he surfaced in the worship ground in Israel. Many perceive his detention as a form of persecution, form of persecution and not prosecution. Why is that so? Because the goalposts keep changing. The midstream, as the match is going on, they keep changing the goalposts. They've amended his charges more than 8 times, and they don't even do that before the court procedure. It is on their way to the court that the lawyers get the new amendment for which they have not prepared for. In other words, they prepare for an old case. They are heading to court now. On the morning before the court case, they are now sent a new amendment to the charges. And so that made the case, prolonged it even much, longer than it should have been, and making the lawyers not be able to prepare adequately. Again, because of where he was detained in the DSS dungeon, they did not have enough access because the rooms were bugged and they didn't have access to be able to speak with him in confidence. This, according to the lawyers, not me. And so the Nigerian government has seemed to be been accused of sponsoring violence in the southeast of Nigeria. This is glaring effect, because I've heard interviews by a certain guy. Of course, we can pull that video if you want it, saying that he has troops fighting in the southeast. We can also speak from the mouth of the former president when he said they are going to organize a group to go and deal with the southeast. These are all records that are available for anyone who is God-fearing and broad-minded and think straight to see and read meanings into if he wants to. The blaming of IPOB in the East as a major culprit for violence is of course unfounded, because even Hope Uzodinma, who is the governor of one of the southern eastern states, have come out to say it is not IPOB. Also, Mr. Alex Oti have also said it is not IPOB. They know, the politicians know those who are sponsoring violence in the eastern Nigeria. This has led to a concern about the fairness and impropriety of the criminal justice system in Nigeria. Always seem to be carved against a particular region or people. Okay, the Nnamdi Kanu supporters argue that his detention is a clear example of Nigerian government's disregard for human rights and the rule of law. This is totally true. The rule of law, we don't know when it starts, it's no longer holds in Nigeria, because you cannot tell an accused who say, I don't want to stay under your judgment. You are not fair to me. And then you say, because the chief judge have said so it should be so. Is it the chief judge that's going to go to prison if you are found guilty? Will the chief judge leave his exalted position to go to prison on your behalf? If he's not going to do that, why then do they want you to be the one to accept that the judge must be one who will handle your case? I think it's a fair thing that all over the world that the accused, can say, I see a level of, biasness, on your side, and I don't want you to represent me. I think that is clear and unambiguous. However, I will keep this discussion so I don't make it a monologue, and open the line also for people who want to be part of this to come in and make their contribution. What's that contribution we're going to do? We're going to be discussing extensively this court judgment, or rather, the ruling of the court in the last appearance of Nnamdi Kanu. The reason why the goalposts keep shifting all the time. What is the reason when you are on your way to court and then they file a new charge? If even in the last court case, they've now changed it from treason to terrorism. Which one will they? Which way Nigeria? What is the reason for keeping this man where he is? No matter how much of argument you can put forward, you cannot be able to satisfy a right-thinking person the reason for some of these actions, because it does not tell, except for the fact that we have seen certain issues happen. We have seen certain videos that was before now made rounds and made us to understand that certain people didn't like what was going on in the southeast, or didn't even want the Igbos to ever think of Biafra, and they will not settle the issue of Biafra. So let us hear from this man.
Resolve the crisis in the southeast.
Well, southeast, I was encouraged by what I heard. Nobody told me. Two statements from the South. One by elderly people.
Southeast.
No, South.
South.
Yes, by elderly people. They said this time around there will be no access to sea. I'm sure you will understand what they mean. Again, the youth made the same statement. That encouraged me. So that EPOB is just like a dot in a circle. If they want to exist, they would have no access to anywhere. And the way they are spread all over the country, having businesses, having property, I think EPOB doesn't know what they are talking about. In any case, we said we will talk to them in the language they understand. We will organize the police and the military to pursue them. That's what we can do. We said we will talk to them in the language they understand. We will organize the police and the military to pursue them. That's what we can do. We said we will talk to them in the language they understand. We will organize the police and the military to pursue them. We said we will talk to them in the language they understand. We will organize the police and the military to pursue them. That's what we can do, and we will do it.
Okay, while that video was playing, I read some commentaries, and some people are saying, Asari Dakubo doesn't have any action going on in the east. Well, you have heard from the horse's mouth. That is what we do. That's what he said. He promised the eastern Nigeria that they will organize the police and the military and any other interested party to go into the southern Nigeria, southeast, and they are doing that. Of course, we're not here today to talk about that. Another day we'll open up the space for that. Today we're going to narrow down on this Ahomakim the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's issue and reduce it to what it is. Yes, some people have said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not conducting himself in the appropriate way that he should. My question to you today is, if you are in the comment section and that is your view, please come on, let us discuss that. Tell us how you want Nnamdi Kanu to be conducting himself. If you are somebody, as a journalist, I have colleagues who have entered the dungeon. I myself, okay? Now, if you have entered the dungeon in the DSS and you stay there for 1 week, come and tell me that you'll be very nice when you come out. Come and tell me that you stayed in the dungeon where if you spread your hand across, both your hands will be touching the walls, and then you come out and you want to be a gentleman. So let us not look at it, not to talk of somebody who have done getting to his 5th year under that situation. You cannot say that person is going to be gentle. We can only say that because we are the ones who are outside and enjoying freedom. You say that because you are in the comfort of your home, enjoying apple and offensala. You can open your mouth and say that. But when you are the one in the midst, I don't think that's a palatable thing to say. And everybody's life is counting. Today, we have today, by the grace of God. Tomorrow, it's only God that knows. And if each day that passes, your life is counting. It's like a meter, it's running. And this man's life so far has run 4 years in the detention. And you are outside saying he's not conducting himself correctly. Tell us how he's supposed to conduct himself when we can learn from you. But before you come to tell us that, let us hear from somebody I respect also, who, in spite of the fact that this does not really concern him, he has put himself on the line majority of the time to speak what is truth and what some people will not dare to say. Let us hear from this man.
Wasting Nigeria's resources on a trial that cannot go anywhere. This trial has gone through all the courts of the land, except maybe I think it went to a magistrate court at the point when they first started this charade. Yes. First and foremost, I like to let Nigerians know that even though I came earlier today for even a personal court matter, and I'd hope to attend, the DSS who are taking over these courtrooms did not allow me into the premises. But I've just been briefed by the ebullient lawyers representing Nnamdi Kanu that he totally and thoroughly exposed the Nigerian judiciary today, the underbelly of the judiciary. And we didn't need to get to this point. We had warned from the beginning when this trial started, this farcical trial, that you cannot try a case that is not triable. People who are aspiring for freedom, which is recognized worldwide, is recognized by laws and treaties, is even recognized, I think, by their 1999 constitution, that every Nigerian have a right to associate with whomever they want and express themselves freely. And these are cases that has become a bone in the neck of Nigeria, because Nigeria refused to purge itself of a war that was needless in 1967. And that ended in which they themselves declared that there were no victors, no vanquished, or no victor, no vanquished. But the victors continue to vanquish their victims. So I am here to say once again that if there's anybody who has sense in the government, today is the final day to sit down and release Nnamdi Kanu and stop wasting Nigeria's resources on a trial that cannot go anywhere. This trial has gone through all the courts of the land, except maybe I think it went to a magistrate court at the point when they first started this charade.
Yes. So what is the implication of today's?
The court cannot adjourn a case in which it has no jurisdiction. The judge has already made an order, a consequential order, that she has recused herself from this trial the last time. So you cannot not assume jurisdiction over a case from which you have disqualified yourself. That is a very simple legal maxim. So, and she also cannot be a judge in her own case or court. She has been indicted by Nnamdi Kanu and the lawyers that she's not fit to be a judge in this case. So, adjourning the case is irrelevant. But I guess maybe she adjourned the case indefinitely to allow reason or oxygen to breathe into the brain of the people who are running Nigeria. Hopefully, they will, within that period of time, resolve this matter. I won't even say in the interest of justice, it's in their own interest. Yes, so because the Supreme Court and other courts have resolved the matter in the interest of what is limited justice in Nigeria. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Imagine if a judge
went to Kenya and kidnapped him. These things are in the public domain. Why, therefore, are they insisting on trying me? A court order was entered. In that very court order, it was said very clearly and succinctly that she is no more going to try me.
Where is there no outrage over the unending detention and trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's trial and development so far. Is it that the judiciary does not understand its own language? Where does the NJC stand in this? Why isn't anybody saying anything? If the judge has already recused herself, but then she has been put back on that case, what does this mean? What's your appreciation of the matter?
You know, perception plays a lot of things. You cannot hire a band, cook food, set chairs, set canopy, and deny you're having a party. Which is what the judiciary is doing. Nnamdi Kanu, you know, at this point in time, we have to call a spade and admit that there is a lot of possible bias and a lot of infringements on his rights. Let's start with the little things, for instance. We saw Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trying to address the press along with his legal team, and someone in the courthouse decided it was the best time to shut off the lights. I think that tells you the contempt with which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and this case is being treated. For a long time, I had always said, can we keep this in the court of law? Can we? But we've reached a point where whatever the crime Nnamdi Kanu is being charged for doesn't matter again, because it has been tested before the courts in the land to the highest level. It has been ordered he should be released. In fact, even compensation for him was agreed. But now he's on a case of detention without trial, and he has made a complaint saying Justice Nyako recused herself. They made an oral request the last time that, you know, there was no a vote of no confidence on her. She recused herself, and they said, oh no, the Chief Justice said she should come back. So there is no law that can give a Chief Justice the right to forcefully reinstate a judge who has recused herself, except she wants to come back, and she's claiming she's there on instruction. And the Chief Justice said, oh, they should do it in a formal matter. It doesn't matter how they did it, because I can recuse myself on my own, for my own reasons, for my own choice. I don't even need a prompting from anybody involved in the case. So if Justice Binta Nyako has recused herself, it does not matter under what grounds. It does not matter whether or not it was an oral submission or a written submission. She has recused herself.
But another aspect of it is that she is being told that she has been following this case since 2015, and that is one of the reasons she was put back on the case, because she seems to have a lot of knowledge about it, and now she's asking for Nnamdi Kanu to go ahead and see if
the problem
basically
is this:
redocument things.
if you have recused yourself, right, you can, you know, that's the problem. There is documented. What they are saying, Nnamdi Kanu present documented requests for her. It doesn't matter, because she herself, it's documented that she has recused herself. Why is she there? It means that she's just there. That's not really a court case. She's just there. And if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not make that challenge, perhaps any judgment given tomorrow, they will use that and say, oh, she recused herself, so we have to start again. You know, so it looks as if the government is now playing games with Nnamdi Kanu. The important thing is not whether or not they even understand their own language. What I'm seeing is a case of executive recklessness and, you know, the executive's refusal to obey the laws in their own land.
That they created.
A court of law has given a decision, and we are still on this matter till now.
Over again.
It's very
if you
shameful.
look at that video on the screen, you can see the total rage in Nnamdi Kanu's eyes. You can hear it in his voice. You can tell that this man is frustrated. He feels cheated. He is standing his ground regardless of whether it's being viewed as contempt of court, but they still continue to stifle him, turn off the light when he's speaking.
I mean,
what's in the level of intimidation and brazen behavior is that?
Let us now, for a long time there has been gaslighting that if for any reason you are sympathetic to what's happening to Nnamdi Kanu, you must be IPOP, you must be this. I think it's time for us to disregard and ignore that gaslighting, and whatever should happen, and let us call the facts for what they are. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was illegally abducted, you could even say kidnapped, and brought to Nigeria. There was nothing legal about his mode of arrest.
The speed from Kenya.
He was brought to Nigeria, he was put in detention, all the charges have been changed over and over again. He has managed at every point to get the judges to either throw away the cases, find him not guilty, to the highest court in the land. Even has compensation that the court demanded must be paid to him. But what do we have? The president who arrested him has gone, and the president who replaced the president who arrested him will be two in a few months. And here we are still talking about the case. They're having no substance at this point in time. This is extrajudicial detention. This is denying of fundamental rights of a man and denying him of his freedom. Because now we have passed, but he did this, he did that. Because whatever you're saying he did has been tested in court. Our opinions, all of us, opinions on whatever Mazi Nnamdi Kanu does not matter any longer. The courts have made a case, and now the same government. And what surprises me is that the courts themselves, so they should let him go, are still opening their doors to bring him for hearing every day. When they should lock doors and say, no,
this time
we have released this man.
Yes.
Don't bring him here again.
This time around, I mean, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made it clear that he only came because of his respect for the court, that he has no rule of law, that he had no reason.
But he made a point that nobody is getting, which I'm saying. The fact that they are bringing a recused judge. We saw how Odius Okalo escaped after being found guilty. They did his sentencing with a judge who had no jurisdiction. So his team could easily overturn that on technicality, which is what I'm seeing again somehow playing out, where in order to waste more time, you bring a judge you know has no jurisdiction over the case because she has recused herself. The judge that had to go back. There is no, where is the written documentation that the recusal has been reversed? Then when this drags for a while, they now suddenly remember, oh, she recused herself. We need to start the process again with a competent judge. So let us adjourn. So you just have adjournment, and keeping him in.
So do you think that now?
Okay, welcome, Mr. Tony, and it's good to have you on. Mr. Chukuma, if you are with us, can you have your camera on so that we can equally enjoy your... All right, thank you. So you are welcome. Now you have heard the foregoing, and I took my time to analyze, or rather play most of the video, so everybody who is on this discussion today will have a full understanding of what we're going to be talking about. There's nothing like hiding anything. What do you say after watching these tons, this number of videos that I've played so far? Because I still have more for those doubting Thomases.
Greetings, my brother and friend KJ. I have listened to your intro and the videos that you have played. To start with, I am not a fan of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But just looking at his travails and the way this case has gone over the years, and also considering what has been done to his family. By the way, let me correct something that you said. I think it comes from Afaruku. Look like, yes, Afara.
Afaruku is close to Umahia. In fact, it's a walking distance.
It's in Umahia. It's in Ibeku. It's in Ibeku. Yes, Umahia South local government.
That's my area, so...
Yeah. So coincidentally, I have some marital connection there. So
really? I hope you're not related to, because I have relatives around there.
Yeah, well, I have relations there by marriage. In fact, I went there. I passed through his father's house in November, December when I went to Nigeria.
Okay.
So I fairly know the area. Anyway. But going by the things that has happened and the way he's been treated, I believe that he has won more sympathy from people like me who at the initial are not his fan. I think that the way this thing has gone, that the federal government, I said it before, you show some magnanimity and just let this guy go. Just ask the Attorney General to issue a null prosecution and let this man go. The other issues can be discussed because this is not the first time we've had people who did worse things and they've been let go. So heavens will fall if you let the man go. And what pains me more is that we're just treating him as if he's not a Nigerian. Even if he's a foreigner. I think you don't want to sentence him, jail him, or try him, or grant him bail. And so I'm not surprised at the man's reaction because anybody in his condition, anybody who has gone through this, what is gone through, and what's going on, injustice, I can say that without any equivocation, will feel and speak the way he's done. So my position will be: listen. I mean, whatever statement the federal government wants to make, or those who are possibility wants to make, I think it's time to say, listen, this has gone too far. Sit down and sort this thing out. The political solution, not the court. That's what I think. And then we can move on from there.
So I want to ask you a question. So how do we equate it? Nnamdi Kanu is making a demand. If the demand is making is in accordance with the laws of Nigeria.
If people say they don't want to belong to Nigeria, they're entitled to it. Because there's a reason why somebody would just live. I mean, there are some Yorubas who say they don't want to belong to Nigeria. So if people, after all, before when the motion for independence was moved, before we got independence, a section of the country said, if they proceed, they're going to succeed.
Yes, and that term was used in the term Araba. It simply meaning that let us go away.
Yes,
tomorrow in the north. Why are they not viewed as a secessionist? Even some few days ago, some northern elements said if this is how it's going to continue, they want to go their way. They should divide it. I have a video, I can play it. So when I'm talking, I come with my facts. I have the video.
Nobody died. Nobody was killed.
Time for them to go their way.
Nobody was in prison.
Nobody was.
We have had countries, break away. It's not new. People who they can't agree and they say, listen, we want to go break to pieces, and they are there. So if there is a marriage and one party says, I'm sorry, I don't want to belong in this marriage, and let's say the man has done everything. Let's say the man has done everything possible to keep the marriage, and the wife says, I want to go. What do you do? What do you do? So in this case, if you have a certain group of people who are saying, we don't want to belong, we want to go. You don't want to let them go. You don't want to give them the things that they want. You don't want to make them feel a sense of belonging to the country. What else do you want them to do? What do you want them to do?
Yeah, you see, again, there's this, like the young man in the video described a perceived injustice. This perceived injustice, I'm coming to you, the flagship. Is the perceived injustice real or not real? Are we just perceiving it? Okay, let me ask you, Mr. Tony, you have gone into the southern, to eastern Nigeria. What they seem to be projecting, is it real or not? Did you find any federal presence in the time you went to Umuahia?
You know, I have said it before on this platform. One injustice that I see straight away is that if you go to the various geographical regions, the Southeast is the only one that has 5 states. I don't know why they are not talking about that. Now, the implication of it is that you are denied not just one state. You are denied representation at the Senate people. You are denied representation for senators that are representing you. You are denied You are denied revenue that would have accrued to you as a state, accrued to the various local governments that would have come up from that state. The development, the federal infrastructure that would have come in terms of roads, schools, health, and all that. You are denied all those things. So you are denied revenue, you are denied development, so you can just count them. There's a lot that region is being denied. That is visible. You can't deny that. They can deny any other thing, but you can't deny that. It's obvious, it's visible. So what is holding Nigeria, particularly now that they're talking about creating states? I've said in the platform that if there's one state that needs to be created, is a state for the South, so that at least there will be some balance, even though I concede that there is still a region that has 7. But why? What is the reason? Why should the Southeast have 5 states as the region? Why? Why?
Thank you so
And I don't want to go to all the other, because even in terms of federal character,
just one. Yeah, I'll come to you, Mr. The flagship. Now, a question has been thrown by one individual. He said, Nnamdi Kanu, there's no IDP camp where they're having people Nnamdi Kanu chased from their locality. But we'll have a set of people who have chased people all around Nigeria and have formed IDP camps all around Nigeria. And yet, Nnamdi Kanu seems to be the problem of Nigeria. Is that how it should be done? Is there any in reality?
Chachi?
Arjun, danke für das Geld, das du uns mit Remitli geschickt hast.
Gerne. Ach, übrigens.
Seems to be the problem of Nigeria. Is that how it should be done? Is there any in reality?
Good afternoon, KJ. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, man. Good afternoon to Mr. Tony and everybody else watching. You know, I think lately I've started taking myself backwards to look outside the geographical region of Nigeria with reference to this Nnamdi Kanu case. And I'm beginning to look at the West and the kind of involvement they may have in it. The question you asked about IDP camps and those that have been causing people, ravaging Nigeria, and as a result, having IDP camps all over the place with bona fide citizens of the country being displaced from their homes and placed in those camps. And nobody seemed to say anything about that. On one hand, that faction that causes this ravage in the country is splitting everything apart and causing chaos and confusion. And on the other hand, Nnamdi Kanu is saying, let's figure a way out to make things work if we want to stay together as a nation and take out this injustice that one sect or a certain cultural group experience. Or if we cannot, let's go our separate ways peacefully. But that doesn't seem to resonate with those who control what happens in Nigeria. This week that just passed, you and I heard of the report of how the group that has been ravaging Nigeria with so much impunity and just spilling blood all over the place, we've figured out that at least now we know who's behind them, who's giving them this energy, these weapons and everything, money that they need. So it's beyond the 400 people that the UAE gave to Buhari to say, these are the guys behind these people. And now in light of this new information that we have, my question then is, could there be a possible involvement in the West in Nnamdi Kanu's detention and unwillingness for the Nigerian government to release him back to his people, or at least back to where he came from? And the other part that really kind of makes me think a little bit more. The reason why I'm looking at the outside world is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nnamdi Kanu carries a British passport. Is that not so?
Yes.
So then, why has the BRICS not said anything about this? I mean, he's a bona fide citizen if he has the passport. Remember back then when the U.S. journalist, Saudi U.S. journalist, was mutilated in Turkey at the embassy. The U.S. was involved, and that guy only had a green card. But the U.S. considered him a U.S. because he's carrying the green card, a U.S. citizen or resident at least. They got involved in the matter and said one or two things. But with Nnamdi Kanu's case, the Brits have not said anything. So all these are like, I mean, for lack of a better word, suspicion that is making me believe that these guys could be involved. They say, hold him down there. If he comes out, we don't know what's going to happen. If the Igbos or the Biafra folks, if he gets out and they get what they want, they lose grip of Nigeria as they have designed it to be. So these are the many things I'm beginning to think about and ask these questions to say, can we have some answers and begin to look beyond it? Because the Nigerian judicial system, justice has been served. They said, let him go. There's nothing to hold him on. But you keep moving the goalpost at every which way and leaving the case stuck with Binta, when Nnamdi Kanu has rightfully said that there's a huge compromise there with Binta as far as he's concerned. And then you see his team not interpreting the law as it should be. At this point, I'm thinking that Nnamdi Kanu is this is a psychological torture on him. They are running him down aground to get him to act out, and they can have other reasons to want to keep him or label him whichever way they want to. And you and I see how he's reacting. He's screaming and yelling in court, telling his team to shut up while he speaks. They don't know how to interpret the law, and so on and so forth. So this is a deliberate act, and it's being commanded by someone outside Nigeria.
So my people, that is it. I hope you guys saw everything that took place in this particular video, even when Buhari said that he's going to teach IPOB the language they're going to, understand. And that is where all this brouhaha, when it comes to insecurity, started in the Southeast, and as well as where we are today. What people are saying concerning Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's matter, like a lot of people are now convinced that there is this ethnic bias when it comes to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case, and indeed that is injustice against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So my people, I don't know what you think. I bring this update to you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and also leave your thoughts in the comment section. Through comment, we all learn as well. Yes, I'm going to see you guys in my next update. Goodbye for now.
Welcome to Shamra Seniors TV.